The cameras may have stopped rolling, but the drama refuses to die down. Love and hip-hop, the empire that redefined reality television and turned everyday arguments into primetime gold, is now on the brink of collapse. For over a decade, viewers have been glued to the explosive fights, the secret affairs, and the unforgettable moments that made stars out of ordinary people. But now, whispers from behind the scenes say that the end has finally come, and it's all because of one brutal showdown that no producer could control. Fans who thought they had seen it all are in for a shock. Because this was not just another on-screen spat, it was a fight so raw, so violent, that it forced Mona Scott-Young herself to walk away from the very franchise she built with her own hands. Imagine it. Lights blazing, cameras scrambling, security unable to break through. As cast members you thought were friends suddenly turned on each other in a war of words that quickly turned physical. Emotions ran higher than ever before. And for once, even Mona, the queen of televised chaos, was left speechless. Sources close to the set say that the fight erupted without warning, fueled by months of jealousy, betrayal, and secret alliances that boiled over in the middle of filming. Fans who once tuned in for messy storylines are now asking if the show itself has become too dangerous to continue. Social media is buzzing with hashtags like #LHHover and #MonaWalksAway, as insiders leak shocking details that suggest this may be the final curtain call. With friendships destroyed, families torn apart, and reputations left in ashes, the question remains, has love and hip-hop finally gone too far? Or is this just the beginning of a darker chapter nobody saw coming? The tension that had been simmering for weeks finally reached its breaking point on set, and no one could have predicted just how ugly it would get. The scene was supposed to be routine, another sit-down where the cast aired grievances that Mona Scott-Young knew would bring sparks for the cameras. But this time, the sparks ignited into a full-blown wildfire. As soon as the words "you've been lying to everyone" cut through the air, the atmosphere shifted. Chairs scraped against the floor, security inched closer, and every eye in the room widened with the anticipation of something they could not stop. It began with accusations shouted across the table, layered with years of resentment, jealousy, and the kind of bitterness that had been carefully buried beneath fake smiles. "You think you're the star of this show, but you wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for me," one voice snapped, trembling with rage. Another fired back, "The only reason anybody even cares is because of my name. My story, my pain. You've been riding my coattails for years." What was meant to be a verbal sparring match turned into a storm of slammed fists and rising voices. And suddenly, someone stood up and shoved the table so hard it nearly toppled over. The cameras tried to follow the chaos, but it was moving too quickly. Hands flew, drinks spilled, and screams pierced the room. Fans who would later catch snippets of leaked footage couldn't believe their eyes. This wasn't television, one insider whispered. This was real life bleeding onto the set, and it was terrifying. Emotions ran high as longtime friendships shattered before the crew's eyes. One cast member, shaking with tears, cried out, "I trusted you. I defended you when nobody else would, and this is how you treat me." The betrayal felt like a knife, cutting through not just her but the entire group, leaving the family they had built for cameras splintered, beyond repair. Even Mona, usually calm and composed, as she directed the madness, could not contain what was happening. She rushed forward, her voice slicing through the chaos as she yelled for security to break it up. But the cast was too far gone, blinded by rage and fueled by secrets they had been holding onto for far too long. And this was not just about petty arguments, it was about years of being undermined, manipulated, and discarded in a world where fame and betrayal often walked hand in hand. The crew stood frozen, watching as reputations that had taken years to build crumbled in a matter of minutes. Phones were out, texts were flying, and fans on social media began to speculate that something catastrophic had gone down on set. What they didn't know yet was that this fight would not just change the dynamic of the cast, it would unravel the very foundation of the love and hip-hop empire. As the dust began to settle and security finally managed to separate the cast members, the room was left in eerie silence, punctuated only by heavy breathing and sobs. One figure stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Another sat crumpled in the corner, clutching her chest as if she had just lost a piece of herself. And in that moment, Mona Scott-Young, the mastermind who had built her career on turning personal drama into television gold, realized the situation had spun beyond her control. The energy was darker than anything she had witnessed before, and the look in her eyes told the truth. This was no longer entertainment, this was destruction. Yet the cameras were still rolling, capturing every tear, every scream, every broken bond. And fans who would later hear whispers of the incident had no idea they were about to witness the most explosive chapter in reality television history. Social media exploded with speculation, insiders leaked cryptic messages, and cast members went silent online, fueling rumors that the show was about to implode. "It's over," one crew member allegedly muttered as they packed up equipment that night, their hands shaking from the chaos they had just endured. And in many ways, that statement would prove to be truer than anyone imagined, because what happened on that set wasn't just another fight, it was the beginning of the end. The aftermath of the brawl was like an earthquake rippling through every corner of the production, leaving everyone shaken and uncertain about what the future held. Hours after the fight, cast members scattered in different directions, some storming off set in rage, others breaking down in tears in their dressing rooms, and a few huddling together, whispering about betrayals and alliances that had suddenly come to light. The energy in the air was heavy, almost unbearable, as if every wall and every light in the studio had absorbed the fury that had just erupted. Security guards lingered in the hallways, their faces grim, knowing this was not the kind of chaos they could chalk up as just another love and hip-hop moment. This was deeper, more dangerous, something that could shatter careers and end relationships forever. Fans were quick to notice the eerie silence that followed. Within hours, gossip blogs lit up with reports of a massive fight, and though no footage had been released, the rumors alone were enough to send shockwaves through the fandom. "Something big went down," one blogger wrote, "and people are saying it's so bad that Mona might shut the whole thing down." Behind the scenes, Mona Scott-Young herself was pacing the halls, phone glued to her ear, as she spoke in a tone sharper than anyone had ever heard before. "This is not what we signed up for," she muttered, her voice breaking between frustration and disbelief. Crew members overheard her questioning whether the show had crossed a line it could never return from. For years, Mona had thrived on drama, but this was different. It wasn't ratings gold, it was human destruction, and even she wasn't sure how to spin it. Meanwhile, cast members began to turn against one another, even off-camera. One accused another of leaking private messages that had fueled the fight, while someone else blamed Mona directly, shouting that she had pushed them to the edge by encouraging storylines that went too far. "You wanted drama. You got it," one of them snapped bitterly, throwing their mic pack on the ground. "But don't think I'm coming back after this." Social media became a battlefield of its own. Fans were tweeting nonstop, demanding answers, tagging the cast with questions like who fought who, and is this the end of love in hip-hop? Hashtags like #FightNight and #LHHMeltdown trended within hours. Some viewers were thrilled, convinced that the drama would make for unforgettable television, while others expressed genuine concern, saying the show had crossed into dangerous territory. Families of the cast even got involved, speaking out on Instagram Live and posting cryptic messages that hinted at the emotional toll the fight had taken. One sibling of a main cast member said, "Y'all don't know what goes on behind the cameras. This show is destroying people's lives, and I'm sick of watching my family get dragged through it." Suddenly, the drama wasn't just confined to the set, it was spilling into real homes, real relationships, and real pain. What made it worse was the betrayal that came to light afterward. It turned out that the argument wasn't just about petty jealousy or on-camera feuds. Deep secrets had been exposed in the heat of the moment, secrets that involved money, infidelity, and even hidden deals with the network. One insider revealed that a cast member shouted mid-fight, "You sold us out. You cut your own deal behind our backs. And now you're sitting here acting like you're loyal." That accusation sent shockwaves through the room. And though producers tried to edit around it later, everyone who was there knew the truth. The cast wasn't just fighting for clout anymore, they were fighting for survival in a world where loyalty was currency, and betrayal meant exile. As the week dragged on, meetings were held in secret. Executives argued over whether to continue filming or scrap the season altogether. Mona, once unshakable, was suddenly questioning whether she should walk away. "I built this brand," she told one confidant, her eyes tired and glassy. "But maybe it's time to move on. I don't even recognize it anymore." The thought of Mona Scott-Young abandoning love and hip-hop sent chills through the entertainment world. If she was done, then maybe the show truly was over. And as fans continued to demand answers, cast members remained eerily silent, leaving everyone wondering, had love and hip-hop finally crossed the point of no return? The sound of Yandy's plea still echoed as the chaos unfolded again, and though security wrestled with all their strength, The women were relentless, their emotions too raw, their anger too unrestrained. The crowd that had once come for glitz and champagne now stood what died, torn between fear and fascination, their phones raised high to capture every impossible moment. What should have been a glamorous evening had transformed into a battlefield. And the battlefield wasn't just about words anymore, it was about years of betrayal, resentment, and secrets finally exploding in real time. Kimbella's voice roared above the din. Nobody touches her. Nobody. Her protective stance was more than loyalty, it was war. And Rashida, shaking from rage and exhaustion, snapped back with a ferocity no one expected. You think you can protect her from the truth? You think you can stand there and rewrite what we all lived? Not tonight. Not anymore. Carly's laughter cut through the air, sharp and mocking, feeding the fire with every syllable. Protect her all you want, Kimbella, but the whole world sees her for what she is. Weak, a fraud, crying for help because she can't stand in her own mess. The words landed like explosives, and Yandi's face crumpled, a mix of anger and heartbreak, her voice cracking as she shouted back, "You don't get to define me. You don't get to erase everything I've survived." The emotion in her voice silenced the room for a heartbeat. But then Rashida stepped forward, her eyes wet but her tone hard as stone. Survived. You survived by stepping on people who carried you. You survived by letting others bleed for you. And now you want sympathy. You won't get it here. The crowd gasped, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others muttering under their breath that Rashida had gone too far. But in that moment, the lines were drawn deeper than ever. This wasn't just a fight, it was an all-out war of truths and lies, with everyone forced to pick a side. Kimbella lunged again, her fury unmatched, but security pulled her back with everything they had. She shouted over their shoulders, "You call her weak? She's stronger than both of you combined. She stood by people when no one else would, even when it cost her everything." Her words rang with conviction, striking chords even in those who doubted Yandi's purity. But Carly smirked, shaking her head slowly, like she was enjoying every second. Cost her everything. Please, if she lost anything, it was because of her own choices. Don't act like she's some kind of saint. She's just better at crying for cameras than the rest of us. That single sentence sent Yandy spiraling again, her voice breaking into sobs. But this time, they weren't just sobs of pain, they were sobs of rage. She pushed forward, her hands trembling, and through her tears, she screamed, "I never asked for this. I never asked for people to destroy my name, my family, my soul. But tonight, I'm done hiding. I'm done letting you paint me as the villain." Her words shook the crowd to its core, and murmurs filled the room. Some nodded in agreement, whispering that maybe Yandy had been unfairly targeted, while others crossed their arms, convinced that this was just another performance, another attempt to sway the narrative. Rashida's chest heaved as she stared at Yandy, her own tears streaking down her face. And when she finally spoke, her voice was hoarse. "You think you're the only one who's been hurt. You think you're the only one who's lost. We all carry scars, Yandy, but you," her voice cracked, "you turned your scars into excuses." The weight of her words fell heavy, and for the first time, Yandy uttered, her anger colliding with grief in a way that left her momentarily speechless. Kimbella stepped in front of her again, her voice firm, her body trembling with rage. "That's enough. You don't get to break her down anymore. If you want to fight, fight me, because I'm not scared of you. Not now. Not ever." The room erupted once more, as bodies shifted, voices rose, and people began chanting. Some for Rashida, some for Yandy, turning the glamorous event into something that felt more like a gladiator arena than a party. Phones shook in trembling hands as fans screamed into their cameras. "This is insane. This is history." But within the madness, the pain was undeniable. Yandy wiped her tears, her face red, her body trembling, and when she looked at Rashida, it wasn't with hatred, it was with devastation. "I loved you," she said softly, but the microphones picked it up, sending chills through the room. "I loved you like a sister, and you threw me away." Her words cracked Rashida Fakade, her lips quivering, her body swaying as though the weight of everything was finally breaking her. For a split second, the room quieted, the possibility of reconciliation hanging heavy in the air. But then Carly, never willing to let silence win, snapped the moment in half. "Don't fall for it, Rashida. She's playing you like she always does. Sisters don't betray sisters. She's no sister of yours." The fragile thread of peace snapped instantly, and Rashida's face hardened once again, her voice rising to a roar. "You're right. She was never my sister. She was my mistake. Gasps tore through the crowd, and Yandi's knees nearly buckled, her cry cutting through the room like glass shattering. Kimbella caught her fury exploding as she shouted at the top of her lungs. "How dare you? After everything she's done for you, how dare you say that?" Her body shook with rage, her voice thunderous, and even security seemed powerless to hold her back this time. She broke free, lunging forward with all the force of her loyalty, her fists clenched, her voice raw. "You're not about to humiliate her like this. Not while I'm here." The room descended into chaos yet again. Screams echoing, surging, drinks spilling as the fight reignited in an even more vicious storm. Rashida's voice was lost in the chaos, Carly's shrieks blending with the roar of the crowd. But through it all, Yandi's cry cut through once more. "Please, please, stop." Her voice wasn't just a ply, it was desperation, the sound of someone on the edge of breaking completely. Fans watching later would argue endlessly about that moment, some swearing Yandi's pain was real, others insisting it was strategy. But in the room, there was no denying the rawness of it. Security finally formed a wall, their arms outstretched, pushing back bodies, separating the women by sheer force. Rashida struggled against them, her voice cracking as she shouted, "She never ruined me again. Never." Carly clawed at the air, screaming insults across the room, her eyes wild, her words venomous. Kimbella was restrained by 3 men, her voice still booming as she cursed them all, swearing that she'd never forgive, never forget. And Yandi crumpled in her friend's arms, sobbed so hard it shook her entire body, her voice breaking as she whispered, "Why did it have to come to this?" The room was wreckage, the air heavy with perfume and spilled liquor, the floor littered with broken glass and shattered illusions. What had started as an elegant evening was now carnage, and still, nothing had been resolved. The women were pulled apart physically, but emotionally, they were still bound. Their hatred, their love, their betrayal, all tangled in a knot no one could unravel. And as the cameras zoomed in on their tear-streaked faces, their shaking hands, and their trembling voices, the producers knew this was only the beginning. Because, if this was what one night had unleashed, the aftermath would be even more destructive, even more unforgettable, even more devastating than anyone could have imagined. And as the night dragged on, whispers spread through the crowd, whispers that secrets had yet to be revealed, whispers that what had just exploded was only the tip of an iceberg that could sink them all. Days turned into weeks, but the storm never passed, it only grew darker, swallowing everyone connected to the show. What had started as a brutal fight on set spiraled into a war of words, off camera, where every cast member seemed determined to defend their side of the story. Instagram lives, cryptic tweets, and deleted posts became weapons, and fans devoured every bit of the chaos, piecing together timelines and accusing anyone they could of betrayal. "Y'all don't know the half of it," one cast member wrote, late one night, before quickly deleting the message. But by then, screenshots had already gone viral, sparking endless debates about what secrets were still buried. The fandom was divided, some begged for the season to air uncut, desperate to witness the fight for themselves, while others called for a complete shutdown, saying it was no longer entertainment but cruelty packaged as reality TV. Behind closed doors, Mona Scott Young was caught in a battle of her own. Her phone rang nonstop with executives, lawyers, and network heads demanding answers. The network feared lawsuits, not just from cast members who had been physically hurt, but from families threatening to expose what really happened behind the cameras. Mona's empire, once untouchable, now seemed fragile, cracking under the weight of too many scandals. Insiders whispered that she locked herself in her office for hours, pacing back and forth, replaying the moment in her head when she realized the chaos had escaped her control. "I never wanted it to go this far," she reportedly told a close friend, her voice breaking. "But maybe I pushed them too hard." Meanwhile, the cast wasn't finished tearing each other apart. 2 of the women at the center of the brawl went live on separate platforms at the exact same time, each trying to spin the story in their favor. One of them, her hair still disheveled from the fight, shouted at her phone, "Don't believe nothing they tell you. I got receipts. And when I drop them, everybody's gonna see who the real snake is." The other, calmer but visibly seething, fired back in her own video, "Receipts? Girl, the only receipts you got are from all the men you've been hopping around with. Don't play with me." Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. Thousands tuned in, flooding the comments with fire emojis, accusations, and desperate pleas for the truth. The internet became a circus, and Love and Hip Hop was suddenly less about scripted drama and more about a real-life implosion playing out in front of millions. But it wasn't just the women who were caught in the storm. The men, too, were being dragged into the mess, accused of lying, cheating, and fueling the fire that led to the blow-up. One cast member's girlfriend went public with claims that he had been sneaking around with another woman from the show, fueling the jealousy that had sparked the initial confrontation. Her voice cracked with rage as she said, "He's been lying to me for years, and now the whole world's about to see it. Don't call me no ride or die because I'm done." Suddenly, what had started as one fight now involved a web of affairs, backstabbing, and money trails that no one wanted exposed. The families of the cast members were dragged even deeper into the chaos. Mothers defended their children, siblings picked sides, and even exes began to speak out, some selling their stories to gossip blogs eager for dirt. It was no longer just a show, it was a battlefield that spread beyond cameras and scripts, bleeding into real life with no chance of editing it clean. Fans described it as watching an empire crumble in real time. Ratings projections, once sky-high, began to plummet as sponsors quietly pulled out, unwilling to be associated with the mounting scandals. The show's reputation was in shambles, and the network started hinting at the unthinkable: cancellation. "If Mona can't fix this, nobody can," one executive admitted off the record. But whispers began to circulate that Mona wasn't even trying to fix it anymore. Rumors swirled that she was taking meetings for new projects, leaving Love and Hip Hop to collapse under its own weight. The woman who had once been the mastermind of reality television was allegedly preparing her exit, and with her departure came a chilling question if Mona Scott-Young was ready to walk away. Was this truly the final season of Love and Hip Hop, or was there still one last twist waiting in the shadows? The silence from the production team became deafening, and with every day that passed, the mystery only deepened. Cast members stopped appearing together in public, events were cancelled without explanation, and insiders whispered that entire storylines had been scrapped because nobody could bear to film with one another. Fans flooded comment sections, demanding answers, but all they got were cryptic clues: "and unfollow here," a shady caption there, and leaked audio that sent shockwaves across social media. In one clip, you could hear two voices screaming at each other, with one shouting, "You ruined my family for a check." Before the sound cut off abruptly, the audio alone was enough to ignite speculation that Love and Hip Hop had crossed a line it could never return from. Meanwhile, Mona Scott-Young's absence became glaring. Normally, she would be front and center, guiding the narrative, teasing fans, and keeping the drama alive just enough to fuel ratings. But this time, she vanished. Insiders reported that Mona was no longer showing up on set, no longer answering calls from certain cast members, and was instead seen in meetings with networks completely unrelated to Love and Hip Hop. Some claimed she was already developing a new project, one that would distance her from the toxic chaos that had consumed her empire. The cast noticed, too, and the betrayal stung. "She left us to deal with this mess," one member confided, her voice trembling with equal parts anger and heartbreak. "She made millions off our pain, and the moment it got too real, she walked away." Those words spread quickly, and fans were divided. Some blamed Mona for pushing the cast too far, while others defended her, saying she had given them opportunities they never would have had otherwise. But the fractures weren't only between cast and producer. Within the cast itself, alliances shifted like sand in a storm. Former friends who once called each other sisters now refused to speak, blocking each other on social media and airing dirty laundry in interviews. One cast member accused another of stealing money meant for a joint business venture, while yet another went on record claiming a close friend had slept with her ex behind her back. The accusations grew nastier by the day, leaving fans stunned at how quickly loyalty dissolved when fame and betrayal collided. The drama extended beyond words. Restraining orders were filed, lawyers got involved, and for the first time in Love and Hip Hop history, the chaos spilled into courtrooms. Tabloids had a field day reporting every detail, splashing headlines like "Love and Hip Hop family in ruins" and "cast members at war." What had once been scripted drama now looked like a cautionary tale of what happens when reality TV becomes too real. Fans felt torn between fascination and discomfort. Some admitted they couldn't look away, even as they described the saga as painful to watch. Others called for the show's cancellation, saying it had stopped being entertainment and turned into exploitation. Yet, in the middle of this storm, one thing became clear: Mona Scott-Young had already moved on. She was photographed at a private dinner with executives from a rival network, smiling and sipping wine while Love and Hip Hop fans raged online about the franchise's collapse. Her silence spoke louder than any press release ever could. She was done. The empire she had built brick by brick, fight by fight, was crumbling behind her, and she was already laying the foundation for her next move. By the time rumors spread that Love and Hip Hop might be officially cancelled, the fandom was split in two. Half were devastated, unable to imagine a world without the messy chaos they had grown addicted to. The other half said it was time, that the show had burned too many bridges, hurt too many lives, and lost the magic that made it must-watch television in the first place. The end felt inevitable, but the final blow was yet to come. When the network released a brief, carefully worded statement thanking the fans for years of loyalty, it didn't confirm cancellation, but it didn't promise renewal either. That silence hung heavier than any announcement. Fans knew what it meant. The cast knew what it meant. And deep down, Mona knew too. The story of Love and Hip Hop was over, not with a finale, but with a collapse so dramatic. Even reality television couldn't script it better. The final unraveling came not with a bang, but with a wave of revelations that no amount of editing could disguise. Gossip outlets dropped bombshell after bombshell, exposing layers of deceit that had been festering behind the cameras for years. One explosive report claimed that production staff had knowingly pushed cast members into volatile situations, ignoring repeated warnings that tensions were too high to control. Another leak revealed secret contracts deals where certain cast members were promised more airtime and higher pay in exchange for stirring up chaos, leaving others furious and blindsided. These revelations confirmed what fans had suspected all along. The drama wasn't just spontaneous, it was orchestrated, manipulated, and fueled until it exploded. But what no one expected was how deeply personal the betrayals ran. One of the central figures of the fight went public in an emotional interview, tears streaming down her face as she revealed she had been battling depression behind the scenes. She accused the show of exploiting her pain for storylines, pushing her past her breaking point. "They told me, the more you break down, the higher your ratings go," she sobbed. "And I believed them. I gave them my soul, and they tore it apart." Her words cut through the noise, shifting the narrative from juicy entertainment to tragic exploitation. And fans began questioning whether they had been complicit in cheering for drama that left real scars. The other cast members didn't stay quiet either. Some echoed her claims, admitting they, too, had been pressured into conflicts they didn't want. Others doubled down, denying it all and accusing her of fabricating for sympathy. Suddenly, the fight that ended Love and Hip Hop became more than just a brawl. It became a symbol of an empire that fed on pain until it devoured itself. Families who had been dragged into the chaos finally stepped into the spotlight. Parents wrote open letters online, begging for the cycle to stop, saying they had watched their children torn apart for the sake of ratings. Siblings posted videos, recounting the toll it had taken on their homes, their kids, their livelihoods. What was once dismissed as just television was now seen as something far more sinister. Even diehard fans, who had defended the show for years, began to admit that maybe, just maybe, this really was the end. And then came Mona Scott Young. For weeks she had stayed silent, refusing to comment, letting the rumors and backlash swirl around her. But when she finally spoke, her words shook the industry. Sitting in a sleek office with cameras rolling for a primetime interview, Mona looked tired but unflinching. "I built something that changed the culture," she said firmly. But somewhere along the way, the line between reality and destruction blurred. "I never wanted to see lives ruined, but I can't deny what this has become," she confirmed. The rumors that she was stepping away from Love and Hip Hop, her voice steady but heavy. "It's time for me to move on. The story is done. It's over." That single sentence, "it's over," spread across every news outlet, every blog, every trending hashtag. Fans were stunned, cast members were speechless, and the entertainment industry knew it was witnessing the fall of one of reality TV's biggest empires. Some mourned, calling it the end of an era. Others celebrated, relieved that the chaos was finally being put to rest. But Mona's departure didn't just close a chapter, it slammed the book shut. With her gone, the network had no choice but to accept the inevitable. The franchise that once reigned supreme was now a cautionary tale. A reminder that even the most successful reality shows could collapse under the weight of their own drama. As the dust settled, fans were left asking themselves the same haunting question. Had they been watching entertainment, or the slow destruction of real lives, packaged and sold as a spectacle? And while Mona Scott Young walked into her future, the cast scattered into theirs, each carrying the scars of a story that had consumed them. Love and Hip Hop was officially finished, and though some clung to hope for a reboot, most knew the truth: this was the end of an era, and nothing would ever be the same again. Even after Mona Scott Young's departure, the fallout continued to echo across social media, entertainment blogs, and late-night talk shows. The cast, once tightly knit by the tangled threads of fame and shared secrets, found themselves fractured beyond repair. Former alliances turned into feuds, and feuds became full-blown vendettas, each cast member vying to control their narrative in the public eye. Some took to Instagram to post cryptic captions, like "Some truths can't be silenced," or "The story isn't over, just rewritten," leaving fans desperate to decode the hidden messages. Others released statements through representatives, claiming they had been misrepresented by producers and fellow cast members alike. Behind closed doors, meetings with lawyers became a daily routine. Some cast members threatened lawsuits over defamation, harassment, and emotional distress, while others negotiated settlements to secure their reputations and future earnings. The tension wasn't limited to legal battles. It seeped into the personal lives of those involved. Romantic relationships crumbled under the weight of betrayal. Friendships that had lasted years dissolved in a matter of days, and families that had once been supportive suddenly found themselves caught in the crossfire. One insider revealed that the fight had exposed a web of secrets involving infidelity, hidden finances, and past disputes that had been deliberately kept off camera for years. These revelations made it clear that the conflict was not just for television ratings, it had real consequences that no script could contain. Fans were riveted by the drama unfolding in real time. Every new revelation, every social media post, every leaked audio clip became a source of speculation and discussion. The hashtags, #LHHover, #MonaWalksAway, and #reality collapsed dominated trending pages as fans dissected every detail. Podcasts and YouTube channels dedicated entire episodes to analyzing the implosion, debating who was at fault and what the future held for those left behind. Meanwhile, the network scrambled to contain the damage. Executives held emergency meetings, discussing whether the brand could be salvaged without Mona Scott Young's guidance. Rumors circulated about spin-offs, reboots, and recasts, but insiders admitted that without her, the essence of Love and Hip Hop had vanished. The show had relied on her ability to navigate chaos, to extract entertainment from pain, and without her, there was nothing left to control the narrative. In the midst of all this, former cast members began to reflect publicly on their experiences. One spoke candidly in an interview about how the pressures of reality television had affected her mental health, describing sleepless nights, anxiety attacks, and constant fear of public judgment. Another admitted regretting choices made for the camera, acknowledging that some conflicts had been manufactured or exaggerated at the insistence of producers. These confessions added a new layer to the story, showing that the collapse of Love and Hip Hop was not just dramatic, it was deeply human. And as the dust settled, a haunting reality emerged. Even the most successful reality shows, the ones that defined an era, could not survive unchecked chaos, hidden betrayals, and the emotional toll on those involved. Fans were left mourning, speculating, and questioning everything they had once taken for granted. Cast members were left picking up the pieces of their lives and careers, knowing that some wounds would never fully heal. The era of Love and Hip Hop had ended, not with a scripted finale, but with a storm so intense that it left everyone forever changed. The empire that had once thrived on drama, betrayal, and conflict had finally consumed itself, leaving a cautionary tale for reality television history and a void that could never be filled. With the official word that Love and Hip Hop would not continue, the entertainment world collectively paused to absorb the magnitude of what had just happened. Pundits debated endlessly about how a show that had dominated ratings and defined reality TV culture could collapse so completely, and what it meant for the genre as a whole. Analysts dissected every decision, every hidden feud, and every off-camera dispute, trying to pinpoint the precise moment the empire began to crumble. Some argued it was inevitable, citing the toxic environment, the pressure cooker of fame, and the constant manipulation that had driven cast members to emotional extremes. Others blamed Mona Scott Young's departure, saying that her absence removed the glue that held the chaos together. Whatever the cause, the ripple effects were undeniable. Former cast members found themselves suddenly without the platform that had propelled them to fame. Opportunities that once seemed guaranteed now vanished overnight. Influencer deals, guest appearances, and media tours were postponed or cancelled as brands hesitated to associate with a cast that had become embroiled in scandal. The social media frenzy continued unabated, with fans sharing theories, rumors, and supposed inside information. Clips from past seasons resurfaced, reinterpreted in the light of the new revelations. Moments that once seemed trivial, an awkward glance, a sarcastic comment, a private whisper, were now dissected as potential seeds of the destruction that had unfolded. Cast members' personal lives remained in turmoil. Relationships strained by betrayal unraveled completely. Families that had once been supportive found themselves dragged into the public eye, forced to defend loved ones against accusations, gossip, and speculation. One sibling posted a heartfelt message on Instagram: "I've watched this family get torn apart for the sake of ratings. Enough is enough. Protect your peace." The tone reflected a sentiment widely shared among viewers and insiders alike. The damage had gone far beyond television. It had become very real. In this chaotic landscape, Mona Scotchung quietly moved forward, her reputation largely intact despite the whirlwind. Industry insiders reported seeing her in closed-door meetings with network executives, discussing new projects, collaborations, and ventures that would not carry the toxic baggage of her previous empire. For Mona, the collapse of Love and Hip Hop represented not just the end of a show, but the opportunity for reinvention and ability to build something new without the destructive drama that had defined her career. Yet the shadow of Love and Hip Hop lingered. Even as Mona forged a new path, the cast and fans were left to reckon with the fallout. Legal battles continued, emotional scars remained, and the question of accountability hung heavy in the air. Who was responsible for the chaos that had consumed lives? Who profited, and who suffered? And perhaps most importantly, what would reality television look like now that one of its most influential shows had imploded under its own weight? The answers remained uncertain. What was clear, however, was that Love and Hip Hop, once a cultural phenomenon that entertained millions, had ended in spectacular fashion, leaving behind a story more dramatic than any scripted plot, a cautionary tale of fame, betrayal, and the consequences of letting drama spiral beyond control. The empire had fallen, the cast scattered, and the audience left to wonder, could any reality show recover from such a collapse, or had the genre lost its moral center forever? The curtain had closed, and with it, an era ended, one defined not just by music, love, and hip-hop, but by the harsh realities that lie beneath the glittering surface of fame. As the weeks passed, the void left by Love and Hip Hop's collapse became impossible to ignore. Former cast members, once central figures in heated storylines, now faced the daunting task of rebuilding their identities outside the context of the show. Social media, which had previously amplified every on-set argument and scandal, now became both a lifeline and a battleground. Fans scrutinized every post, every comment, and every subtle gesture, searching for signs of reconciliation or further conflict. One cast member, known for her fiery personality, posted a photo of herself alone on a rooftop, captioned simply, "Rising from the ashes." The image went viral, sparking speculation about whether she was distancing herself from the drama, seeking a fresh start, or subtly reigniting rivalries by flaunting her independence. The media, never one to let a story die, seized on every detail. Headlines declared that Love and Hip Hop had not only ended but had done so in a manner that would be studied for years as a case study in the perils of reality television. From ratings gold to catastrophe, read one article. When drama consumes reality, read another. Analysts debated whether the show had crossed ethical lines or if it was simply the natural evolution of a genre built on conflict. Meanwhile, former cast members began to leverage their newfound freedom to explore personal projects, collaborations, and business ventures. Some launched fashion lines, others pursued music careers, and a few even appeared on talk shows to candidly reflect on the toll the show had taken. One former star, her voice heavy with emotion, revealed, "We were told to push, provoke, and perform, but the cost was our mental health. I survived the cameras, but I'm still recovering from the war behind them." Such statements only heightened the public's awareness of how much had transpired off-screen. The networks, too, scrambled to adjust their strategies. While some considered rebooting the franchise with an entirely new cast, others decided to shelve any projects that might risk similar chaos. Executives admitted, off the record, that the collapse had shaken confidence in reality programming built on unscripted drama, forcing a reevaluation of how much conflict could ethically be Manufactured for entertainment. Despite the upheaval, fans remained intensely engaged. Podcasts dedicated to dissecting every detail of the love and hip-hop fallout proliferated. Some hosting former cast members who hinted at untold stories, while others debated the morality of watching real-life pain unfold for ratings. Comment sections became forums for discussion, outrage, and reflection. Many admitted a mixture of fascination and regret, acknowledging they had been drawn into the spectacle even as they condemned its consequences. Yet, amid the chaos, Mona Scott-Young quietly solidified her reputation. While the show she built lay in ruins, her personal brand remained untarnished. Sources close to her revealed that she was already planning new ventures that would allow her to harness her unparalleled ability to create compelling content without the destructive fallout that had ended Love and Hip Hop. In her absence, the cast scattered, some thriving independently, others struggling to regain relevance. But the narrative of the show, once a symbol of music, romance, and raw human emotion, had permanently shifted. Love and Hip Hop would no longer be remembered merely for its explosive drama. It would be remembered as a cautionary tale of ambition, betrayal, and the limits of manufactured reality. And while the cameras were silent and the studio empty, the legacy of the series and the chaos it left behind lingered. A reminder that the most powerful reality empires can collapse when conflict becomes uncontrollable. Secrets are exposed, and human emotion is pushed beyond endurance. The story was over, but the impact would echo for years, leaving both fans and participants to reckon with the consequences of a world where reality and spectacle collided with devastating effect. And so, here we are, standing at the edge of a story that has captivated millions, torn families apart, and left fans in shock. Love and Hip Hop, a show that once promised entertainment, music, and passion, has imploded in ways no one could have fully anticipated. We've watched friendships crumble, alliances shatter, and betrayals unfold in real time, all under the unforgiving gaze of the cameras. Now, as the dust settles, we are left with questions that demand answers, and a curiosity that refuses to be silenced. What really led to that explosive fight? Who can be trusted when loyalty and fame collide? And most importantly, what does this collapse mean for the future of reality television as we know it? Fans around the world have been poring over every leaked clip, every cryptic social media post, and every whispered rumor, trying to piece together the truth behind the chaos. You've witnessed firsthand how private grievances turned into public spectacles, how emotional wounds were broadcast for millions to dissect, and how even the most seasoned producer, Mona Scott-Young, was forced to confront the limits of control. As a viewer, you were not just a passive observer, you were part of this unfolding drama. Every comment, every like, every reaction contributed to the frenzy. And now it's your chance to reflect, to voice your opinions, and to join the conversation. Did you see it coming? Could you have predicted that one fight would unravel an entire empire? Or were you shocked, like the rest of us, by the intensity, the emotion, and the sheer unpredictability of what unfolded? Now is the moment to engage, to speak out, and to let your voice be heard. Comment below with your thoughts on the fall of Love and Hip Hop. Which moment shocked you the most? Which betrayal cut the deepest? Who, in your opinion, was most responsible for the collapse? Fans are divided, with some mourning the end of an era and others celebrating the closure of a chapter that had grown too toxic. Where do you stand? Share your perspective. Because every opinion adds to the collective understanding of a story that is more than entertainment. Tit is a reflection of human ambition, vulnerability, and the consequences of unchecked drama. And while you're sharing your thoughts, don't forget to like this video if it kept you on the edge of your seat. Hitting that like button not only shows your support but also ensures that you stay connected with the latest updates, insights, and breakdowns of reality TV's most shocking moments. Every like counts, every share spreads the story further, and every subscription guarantees that you'll never miss another explosive revelation from the world of entertainment. Imagine being part of a community that dissects the drama, debates the betrayals, and celebrates the moments of triumph alongside the moments of heartbreak. By subscribing, you're not just watching, you're participating, analyzing, and contributing to a conversation that extends beyond the screen. So take a moment, click that subscribe button, and become part of a network of fans who live and breathe reality television, who understand that behind every fight, every betrayal, and every shocking twist, there is a story waiting to be told, dissected, and remembered. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell so you're the first to know when we drop the latest updates, exclusive interviews, and behind-the-scenes revelations about the world of love and hip-hop and beyond. Don't let the conversation pass you by. Engage, interact, and make your voice heard. This is your chance to reflect on what you've witnessed, to debate, to share, and to connect with fans who, like you, have been captivated, shocked, and inspired by the story that has shaken reality television to its core. The collapse of love and hip-hop is more than a moment. It's a movement, a phenomenon, and now, a chapter in entertainment history that demands discussion, reflection, and engagement. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided, but your perspective matters. Comment, like, and subscribe, because the conversation isn't over. It's only just beginning. Share your thoughts, debate the betrayals, relive the shocking moments, and join a community that values insight, analysis, and passion. Your voice adds depth to the story, and your engagement keeps the conversation alive. Together, we can explore what went wrong, who was affected, and how such a phenomenon could rise and fall with such intensity. Don't hold back. Your opinion counts. Discuss the most shocking twist, the betrayal that stunned you, and the outcome you never expected. Let's analyze the drama, break down the conflicts, and celebrate the storytelling that, for better or worse, made love and hip-hop an unforgettable part of reality TV history. And remember, staying engaged means staying informed. Like the video if it kept your attention, comment to share your unique perspective, and subscribe to stay connected with the ongoing discussion. Every interaction builds the narrative, every opinion shapes the legacy, and every subscriber joins a community dedicated to understanding, dissecting, and reflecting on the highs and lows of reality television. This is your moment. Be part of it. Engage, interact, and let your voice be heard. The story of love and hip-hop may have ended, but the conversation is far from over. Stay part of the discussion, stay involved, and make sure your perspective is counted among those who witnessed, analyzed, and lived through the drama. Like, comment, and subscribe, because this isn't just a video, it's a community, a conversation, and your chance to shape the narrative of reality TV history. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, the family was left divided, and now, your voice matters more than ever. Join in, speak out, and be part of the story that continues long after the cameras have stopped rolling.